itself. The two tough-looking bikers propping up the end of the bar are also drummers. The pair of sumo wrestlers sitting in the back are drummers too. Even the two police officers at the table in the far corner are drummers. So you might want to think twice before telling your joke in this bar. The man looks at the bartender and says, "Well, thanks for warning me. I wouldn't want to have to explain it 7 times. I initially didn't want to mention drummer jokes at all in this book. After all, it risked trivializing what I considered to be an under-examined subject, one that was worthy of serious study. The drum kit, drummers, and drumming deserve a history that accords them the appropriate dignity and respect. The drum kit is a real instrument, drummers are real musicians, and drumming is a real art form. Surely, in the 21st century, we could all agree on that. And yet, the more that friends and colleagues persisted in sharing their drummer jokes with me, the more it caused me to wonder, why do these jokes survive? What function do they serve? And how old are they anyway? In short, what do drummer jokes have to tell us about the changing status of the drum kit in society over time? Perhaps the most famous example of the drummer as an object of mockery is the character of Animal from The Muppet Show, who first appears in the program's pilot episode in 1975. Legend has it that Animal's character was inspired by Keith Moon, but there is no evidence in the original sketches for the character that suggests he was based on any one drummer in particular. Instead, the sketches show a vague caricature of the primitive tribal savage, which was a not uncommon way at that time of representing figures from rock and roll culture more broadly. Were there drummer jokes prior to 1975? After some archival digging, I came across an article in the London music paper Melody Maker entitled "The Funny Thing About Drummers" from 1965. Although the article's prose has not dated all that well, the message remains clear. There are two sorts of musicians, drummers and the rest. Why do drummers all think they play musical instruments? About 1 million man-hours are lost in rehearsal time every week because the drummer can't stop clattering while the guitarist is trying to work out the chords. In the same article, the writer suggests, drummers never read anything but The Dandy and Beano, which are two well-known British children's comics. While he stopped short of suggesting that drummers are totally illiterate, his caricature of their likely reading habits was clearly intended to poke fun at the supposed low mental age and corresponding intellectual ability of the typical drummer. In another music paper called Crescendo, an article, also from 1965, alludes to a jazz drummer retiring his sticks because he got fed up with the old cracks of 10 musicians and a drummer. This was interesting, not least because the drum kit's most famous prankster, Keith Moon, who joined The Who in 1964 and was known in his lifetime as Moon the Loon, was not yet famous enough to influence any British preconceptions about drummers. Instead, as the article suggested, it was clear such jokes were already old by the 1960s. Were there drummer jokes prior to 1965? As I began to read memoirs of entertainers from the early 20th century's vaudeville era, I was intrigued to discover that drummers were routinely tasked with playing sound effects to accompany comedy and variety routines, as well as silent films, setting the drummer apart from fellow musicians in an orchestra. Joe Laurie Jr., an American vaudeville performer who wrote a memoir of his career on stage, described how, if a vaudeville act could afford one musician, it was a piano player. If it could afford 2 musicians, however, they added a drummer. The drummer was a very important guy for acts. He was made the butt of all the jokes. The single woman would make love to him, stroke his bald head, and leave lipstick on it after kissing him. Neither was this an isolated observation. Another memoir written by John Pearl Spears, a Massachusetts-based drummer active in the early 20th century, remarked that, "In vaudeville it is always the leader or the drummers who get the kidding from the stage. Many in the audience take these talks seriously and feel sorry for the poor drummer. But I assure you, nothing is meant by
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.